Hi, this is Misha.
And this is Jake.
And we're doing our February-March question and answer. We kind of asked you to do something a little different. Ask us any random questions. We didn't say we would give you the right answer, but we give you an answer. And so we're going to do that. We actually have quite a few questions. That's why we went ahead and left this one open a little while. And are posting this in March, but it's going to be a pretty lengthy one, so grab yourself some vodka or beer or tater chips or a porn mag, whatever you need to get through 40-50 minutes.
All right, so like Nisha said, all these questions came from our patrons. $1 and up on our Patreon is enough to be able to ask a question. We do these once every few months or so, and we always send out an announcement when we're about to do it. So we'll just jump right in.
Alrighty.
Orgear asks, do you think the current hate surrounding American AKs is deserved, or do you think it's exaggerated?
I guess there is some hate, but really I don't think there's true vitriol, true hate. I think it's just a lot of reservations, and I think a lot of people are just like me in the why. You can still get various guns from Arsenal. You can still find Molots, even though the ban happened. They're still out there. You can find Wassers. In fact, Century has expanded the Cougar line. And so we have new companies like Zastava USA coming that might import. We have WBP imports out of Poland. And you can still find quite a few older guns from like the Mahdi's and Chinese guns for not crazy money. You can still get like a Mac 90 for under $1,000. So with all those options of quality guns, why? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm in the same, but I don't have any U.S. made AKs. We get questions a lot of what are our thoughts on the PSA AKs or whoever it happens to be at the time. Most recently, we've seen these 9mm AKs from Kalashnikov USA.
I was about to say, I actually did finally buy my first USA AK.
Yeah, so far so good on it. So
yeah,
I don't want to. Neither one of us wants to see the U.S. made AK fail.
No.
It really is beneficial widely, I think, for, this is my personal opinion, beneficial widely for the AK crowd to have quality domestic U.S. made parts that are available for us to get in the long term, because a lot of countries that have been making the 7.62x39 AKs are moving away from it. Mm-hmm. It's a platform in a lot of cases that's, I'm not going to say dying, but is
phasing out. Yeah, it kind of, its lifespans are, yeah, I agree. Like parts, like Nodak receivers, for example, and even Green Mountain, once they went to chrome lining, their barrels have been awesome, because without that, we wouldn't have been able to build up a lot of kits. So, yeah, and if they want to do bolts and stuff, I mean, firing pins would be great. A lot of the trigger groups, I like the FIME USA made trigger group. I put it in a lot of guns.
3 or 4 ALG AKTs.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, yeah, stuff like that. But the 100% US, like when the gas block, the trunnion, the bolt carrier, and those parts aren't going to wear out.
Yeah. So I don't think either of us say we have a hatred, like an automatic hatred towards U.S. made AKs. It's just for us at the moment, having a variety of foreign made AKs available and that we already have, there's just not any reason for us to risk PSA or whatever it is that isn't necessarily. They just don't have track records yet.
They're young. I mean, people like to say WBP is a young, unproven company, and they've been in the AK game for 20 years and making their AKs for over 10 now.
Yeah.
PSA is even younger than that.
Right.
I'll grant you that WBP is still an adolescent, but if they're an adolescent, then PSA is still learning to walk.
Right.
And I think Josiah would be the first to say that. They make something, they stumble occasionally. They made it, their second gen was good, their third gen's having some issues. They're going to fix them, but they're still learning. I'll also say this, it's the internet. There's haters on anything and everything. There could be a website where they literally give people away $1,000 just for visiting, and someone would find some reason to hate it. So it's just the internet.
Yeah, it's gonna be, those opinions are gonna be extreme either way. So, but yeah, I think as soon as, I mean, even if they said we've got a quality U.S. made AK 7.62 by 39, Rob Skeet shot 20,000 rounds through it and it kept running, awesome. Like,
Yeah.
But I've got a lot of AKMs. I've got a lot of AK-74s. I've got, like, I just don't need it personally.
Yeah.
So
I would have to be, and this Kalashnikov USA is a good example. It needs to be a clone of a military gun that we can't have before.
Right.
If Sega 9s had been imported, I would own one of those.
Right.
Failing that, I'm happy with this. So if someone does an authentic AK-104 or 105, all over that.
Right.
If it's authentic. If it's PSA, awesome. PSA, basically, if they make something that has some history behind it, or at least looks like something that has history, and we haven't been able to get it before, then color me interested.
Right.
Until then, when you're just copying the AKM again,
right,
you can still get Wassers.
right, exactly. Yeah.
I know that answer was brief, but the answer, yeah.
So yes, we think the hate is absolutely deserved, and we hope no American AKs get made ever, and it's Chinese AKs or nothing for us. That's
Hashtag,
our opinion.
I'm with Jay. Hashtag, don't count Misha in.
All right, Guy asks, when are you guys?
Is that literally his name, Guy?
Guy, yes.
Okay, I thought you were just gonna start like guy and gal from now.
No.
Okay.
This guy asks, when are you guys and Robski going to collaborate on some episodes, and will we see Misha go Rambo style through the woods? I can guarantee you that if we collaborate with Robski, Misha will go Rambo style through the woods.
Now he said Rambo, not Commando, right?
He said Rambo. I don't think it matters if it's Commando or not.
Well, I was thinking like, do I have to have underwear on?
Well, I mean, it seems like that would be your personal decision regardless.
I don't know. Is anything really personal online now? No, actually, Rob has been very proactive in this, and we're happy to do it. It's just getting everyone's schedule to line up, as anyone knows. And he's extremely busy with his military government obligations, he said, this spring. And then it gets freaking hot and humid as all hell here come June, July. So realistically, you're probably going to see late summer, early fall at the earliest.
Yeah, and he is in Missouri now. He had been in Illinois before,
yeah,
so he's not that far from us now.
Honestly, he's not much further from us now than where we go to shoot.
Yeah.
So he's not. It's not a distance things now. In fact, we might just invite him down to have some burgers like on 4th of July.
Yeah.
But
so it's something that's definitely doable now. It's
Yeah.
just getting everything lined up.
and Rob's definitely on board. So yay.
Dan asks, you've amassed a pretty impressive collection of military rifles. Any tips for those of us trying to do the same, i.e. where to get deals, trading strategies, selling old stock to improve the collection, etc.? I'm going to go ahead and jump in on this
Yeah,
one.
please do.
And say, get to know Misha.
I don't really sell that much.
Having Misha as a friend is like being best friends with a drug dealer and having a heroin addiction. Let me just put it that way.
Hashtag not real drugs. Yeah, I mean, it's just experience. I know people like to mock Gun Broker, calling it Gun Joker and stuff, but in recent years, I found a lot of cool guns on there. And,
Same here.
you know, if a price is a little high, email a seller politely saying, look, I think I can spend this or that. They will probably say no, they can't go any lower, but it never hurts to check. That's how I was trying to finish up my Finnish collection for Mosin's, and I picked up the last two I needed just last year on there through a very nice seller, and actually upgraded one of my Swiss guns to boot, not even meaning to.
Yeah.
Before that, I did find some things at gun shows, but it was always pretty rare. Even if I found something nice at a gun show, it was so high. And I used to find quite a bit at the Armory. You know, Bill knew me, and a lot of my guns came from the Ozark Armory back when the original owner had it, but he retired 3 years ago.
Yep.
But he was really big into military, and he actually helped me a lot. And it was kind of really interesting, a little kind of surreal when he started calling me asking, because he knew a lot, because he was into history and he'd been in the gun business since the 70s, and I learned a ton from him. Also just reading online, looking, and I don't mean to be crude, but like my Craig Jorgensen, which is a pretty nice example, I got because a guy needed to pay his tax money and I had cash on hand. So even in 2019, sometimes, cash talks and bullshit walks.
Yeah.
You got the money in hand, someone might take 600 greenbacks, whereas they think they need 900 if you do that. Also, don't come into a sale asking to do a layaway or partial trade. You'll never get a great deal that way. And I would say finally, don't be afraid to sell a gun. If you can sell a gun that you're only for a gun you really like, do it. By all means, do it.
Yeah. Yeah, understanding too, I think from my perspective, at least, kind of, I guess I'm more outside looking in on this part of it, but understanding what to buy and when to buy.
Yeah.
So if you're waiting until if you're wanting an import foreign made AK, like waiting until after you start hearing about them all the time online because they've stopped importing, you've already missed the boat on it. So there are guns like, we've mentioned this before, but there are guns like Tokarevs that you see a lot that, $150, $200, $220, in good shape. Maybe they have accessory kits, stuff like that. Like buying them whenever you're seeing them cheap is the best way to get them. Because most of the time you're going to be able to buy them and then sell them for a couple $100 more than what you bought them for because they're not being imported anymore.
I'm going to tell you what's really good too. If you can afford to do this, Tokarevs are a good example. I just bought those Romanians from Classic. Again, we don't hate Classic around here. Although you're going to hear a story later on. And they were actually imported by M+M, owned by a really nice guy, Mike. Used to be Colorado Gun Sales. But anyway, I ordered 4. I picked the best one for myself, and then I sold the other 3 and paid for that one. And it's not just gun dealers that do that. I remember there was a guy who used to come into the gun shop down in Clarksville. He bought 3 Finish M39s, and I know because I took one of the 2 he sold, and that's what he did. He picked the one that shot the best, sold off the other 2 to help fund it. And they're especially with surplus, that's always a good idea because every gun's a little different, and you might have to sit on them a few months, but with surplus, buy it when it's during its import cycle.
Yeah.
For sure. Like right now, with the CMP, if you want a 1911, this is the time to get a USGI 1911 because of that recent batch.
Yeah. So yeah, understanding kind of when things are being brought in, especially on the import side, paying full price for new U.S. made commercial stuff, you're almost always going to end up losing out on it because the first time you shoot it, it's worth less than what it was whenever you bought it. So.
And I would say buy what you really want and like. Don't buy into hype. Don't buy what someone else tells you. Don't ask people what you should buy. Just figure out your own passion. You will. We all do. I mean, I didn't know when I got started. I bought some crazy guns that you wouldn't believe. But, sometimes you have to buy things you end up not liking to know what you like. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I'll end with this. You're going to make a bad buy. You're going to screw up. You're going to lose money. We all do. Don't sweat it. Don't learn from it. Try to do it as little as possible. But, I mean, I did it here just recently. I lost money on a gun. It happens.
Yep. That's right. And then the gunbroker, like he said, gunbroker, check prices against gunbroker and just kind of get a feel for what things are going for.
Yeah. Gunbroker is a pretty good resource.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Eric says, what kind of inventory, parentheses guns, do you have in your store? Do you sell more online or out the door?
I used to do a little bit out the door, but online keeps me so busy. I have a local shop that I partner with now for local stuff, so that's a deal we can do, but I myself don't anymore just because what I sell, if I can get a hold of it, Milsurp. I love selling Milsurp. I just picked up a collection, remember, right after New Year's. Drove literally night and day to go, well, I didn't drive, but night and day to go get it, and I love selling that off. But Failing that, for example, here's one thing that I carry that is kind of up my alley. This is the Mossberg 500 Retro grade or Retro. It's just kind of a very classic riot police gun, blued finish wood. Not every gun shop's going to carry this. It's because they're a little higher, they're a little bit of a specialty item. So I do tend to keep a lot of the Remington and Mossberg as well as Benelli police guns. And then, you know, of course I have AKs whenever a good AK comes along. I've been an arsenal dealer and I used to do a lot with Century, but I don't know, they just haven't had a lot of interest lately. Maybe I'll start working with Kalashnikov USA, I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like shotguns have always been your bread and butter. For as long as I've known you, you've always had.
You know, you don't make a ton of money, but the returns are really low. People are happy. Every time I sell one, I think literally, like you said, bread, it pays for a meal. It's like, hey, there's 30, 40 bucks to take the wife out. You know, they're solid. They're solid. And, you know, Mossberg and Remington are two American companies, so I feel good supporting just a classic American gun.
And going back to the heroin drug dealer comment that I made earlier, every time he gets a cool shotgun, he's like, hey, I got this shotgun, and it's only this much, and I'm like, well, I don't really need another shotgun, but that retro Mossberg looks really cool.
I've already got one set aside. I even got a heat shield set aside for you.
It's going to happen, I'm sure.
Oh, I know it will. I would offer you this one we shot, but it's kind of grown on me, too.
See what I mean? That's what I'm talking about.
Well, they're so cheap. I mean, for what you get, they're cheap.
That's the problem.
I mean...
I'm saving up for a T-36. All right. Bruce says, I'm thinking of picking up an FAL and was wondering why there are so many cheap G3 mags available but nothing for the FAL. Weren't they both popular rifles used all around the globe?
Yes, they were. In fact, the FAL was more popular. But the thing is, the cheap FAL mags came in earlier. They were a product of the 90s and early 2000s, and they were about $5 a pop. And actually, if you go back not further than that, G3 mags are super expensive because HK. But then all these cheap ones came in. Also keep in mind, FAL mags are mostly the steel ones. There are some alloy, but they're kind of rare. They're steel. The G3 mags that are super cheap are those really light, almost disposable alloy, and I think that's why they made so many. It was kind of a use and forget mag. Yeah, so it mostly just timing. I guarantee you eventually the cheap G3 mags will go away.
Yeah, it seems like I feel like there was a wave of like set-me mags that came through that were just like insanely cheap, and
like those kits
kind of dried up a little bit.
Like you bought some, it's like a 10 pack.
$80 for, I think it had 20 mags,
20
mag loader, and a rifle cover, and all that stuff. It was like,
and before that, I saw the mag loaders selling for that alone because they are a crazy over-engineered mag loader. We should do a whole video just on that mag loader. It's nuts.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
All right, Dave, we could have done almost an entire Q&A just with your questions. So thanks for submitting those, man.
Lightning round. Yeah. We'll knock them out quickly.
He apologizes though. Says sorry for the amount of questions.
You know what? I can't hate him on that. He's just maximizing his dollar.
Right. Here's the thing, folks. $1, 8 questions. So you know.
Yeah.
Sorry for the amount of questions. I have a lot of time to ponder while at work. Won't be offended if you don't answer them all this go around. Well, guess what, Dave? You gave us $1. You're going to get your money's worth.
But we might be offended.
Yes. Number 1. Being blind, have you ever had someone try to take advantage of you in a firearms deal?
Yes, also on a date. Also, it was a dude. And I didn't know we were on a date. But that's a story for another day. Unfortunately, yes, I have had a couple of people try that on firearms deals, and that's why I don't do a lot of local stuff. Look, I know 99% of you are awesome, but it only takes 1 or 2 bad apples.
Sure. Can you tell us about your stay in Russia?
I went over there as an ESL teacher. I was supposed to be there 1 to 2 years. Ended up getting booted out after a few months because Putin and Bush got in a dick measuring contest. Literally, it was over missiles, which was pretty close. So, political stuff. I had to come home early, unfortunately, but I took a souvenir, my wife.
Do you both know of any interesting anecdotes about certain firearms? For example, when the Canadians had the FAL, they had the saying, keep on 5, stay alive, when referring to what gas setting to put their FALs on.
You got anything?
Nothing off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's a toughie. I don't really know. I could kind of just throw something together, but I can't really think of anything. I would say kind of with AKs, buy imports. That's a good rule of thumb.
I remember you offering me a rubber duck. And I was very confused about what the hell you were talking about because I had never heard of a rubber duck.
He's talking about a training rifle, an M16 training rifle. It was awesome. It looked identical to an M6. Actually, it was an XM16E1. It had the 3-prong, and it was a real barrel that had been like filled in with lead, and it had a real flash hider, but everything else was rubber. It was really weird and cool.
Yeah. That's the first thing for some reason when unusual story that a rubber duck being offered.
I've seen it. I had an M14 one too.
That's pretty cool. That's
so it was weird.
Number 4. Do you both carry a firearm on you for personal protection daily?
Usually I have one in the room with me, but if I need to, I'll carry it. Like if I go out to the building, because I'm around here a lot. But the short answer is yes, of course.
Yeah, I have my CHL. Get it renewed all the time. Absolutely have something, if not on hand, then in a vehicle or close at hand. So my personal carry gun, I actually have a Ruger. I'm blanking on the name of it. It's the 9mm.
LC.
LCP.
There is an LC. That's a 380. LC9's the 9.
LC9. Okay. That's what it is. I have a Ruger LC9.
And there's that new one, that EC9.
Yep. And then typically, if I'm on a road trip or something, I've got a Kel-Tec Sub 2K that I keep.
I will tell the story now that it's legal. When when in grad school, a lot of grad classes are at night, and I would walk home, and it was about a mile walk, and sometimes it was late at night. I carried at that time about the smallest gun that wasn't a 22, the Kel-Tec P32. So I carried that with me even at university. The reason back then that wasn't allowed, but I kind of had the old mindset of, better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6 type thing. Yeah. And again, if I was doing my job, no one ever knew I had it. But funnily enough, our university that we both went to legalized concealed carry on campus a few years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I kept up even when I was in school and it wasn't legal. I kept up my CHL just for the lack of having to do the NICS check.
Oh Lord, yeah.
Because that saved a lot of time when buying firearms. But my wife does as well. I know a lot of people that do around here. It's just extremely common. It's actually, I think it's less common to find somebody that doesn't have.
Yeah. TLDR, don't break into someone's house or try mugging someone in Arkansas. It won't end well. No. We're going to feel bad about what happens to you, but it's still going to happen. Yep. So just leave us alone and it's great.
I like inside waistband holsters, just throwing it out there. I like pocket carry. There's some I actually had a custom made pocket carry holster for the Ruger to be able to slide it in a pocket.
You remember that little North American 22 short I got for my birthday years ago? Yeah, I've got a little pocket carry thing that I'll just, if I'm like just going out to the building, just throw something in my pocket.
Right. We should do a follow-up video on that.
We should.
That's neat.
I like that little gun.
All right, number 5. What's with the raised bumps on East German pebble stocks? Did it serve a purpose?
No, I think it got herpes.
Okay, number 6. Do you think Arsenal Bulgaria will ever ship any more Circle 10 5.56 black and smoke mags? K-Var is now out of stock on both.
Black, maybe not. Smoke, I bet they do.
Number 7. Acknowledging that you're both not lawyers, what is your understanding of the law when it comes to cutting, crowning, and finally pin and welding your own rifle? Some people say it has to be done by a Class 3 FFL/gunsmith, and others say the BATFE allows you to do it on your own as long as it's done within a reasonable time frame, a couple of hours.
I would say this. What you do in the privacy of your own home, especially in one night, no one's going to know about. But you're right, we're not lawyers, so we can't officially give advice, nor would we want to, because the truth is we don't know, because the truth is the ATF has never just 100% said yay or nay.
Yep. Last question, number 8. Sorry, last question from Dave, not last question period. You're both sharing a cell on death row. What's your last meals? I want to comment and say, why are we sharing a cell in this scenario?
Yeah, and the answer shouldn't be each other. So, yeah, this I guess like in the future there's just an overcrowding even
I guess
there.
so.
So what do you think?
You know what's really weird is the first thing that came into my head is something I can very easily get, and that was just like a really good diner cheeseburger.
That chair does that.
Yeah.
Diner cheeseburger. I can
Yeah.
see that. Some comfort
Like,
food.
just like a really good cheeseburger and fries. Like, for some reason, that's the first thing that popped in. I know that's not very exotic or anything, but I think that...
You know what I'm going to say?
What's that?
Waffle House. Because
See that?
I have so many great memories from like college and getting married and great travel road trips. Usually on a road trip, we'll go eat at Waffle House. Mm-hmm. So even though the food's fine, I like the food, but there's so many great memories. And let's be honest, last meal, that's what you're going to want to focus on.
Yeah.
Hash browns. Their hash browns rock there.
That's a weirdly sentimental answer. All right. Darren, I've watched some SHOT Show videos on the CZ Bren 2, but it was kind of confusing. What is going to be different when they officially release the Bren 2 rifle? Also, any idea if any more pistols will be coming in before then? I believe the guy at CZ said 2020 or longer before the rifles are in because of 922R parts and such.
Well, I brought this out just for that for you. This is the 2S, you know, mine. The biggest difference is we know for sure about the 2MS, it's not going to have these lightning cuts on the receiver here, this one. And the one on this side, it's just going to be more of a slab look to it. They're also going with a new modular handguard thing that I'm not really sure, but the handguard attachment is going to be different. Ergo, perhaps the barrel attachment's going to be different. The 922R thing is puzzling to me because I don't know how many parts this gun has. 5, 6, at most 7. Okay, it ships with, in fact, I don't think there even are check-made AR-15 mags. 3. It has threaded 1/2x28. Put any US brake on it. 4. So, at most they need 1 to 3 more. You can't tell me they can't come up with a gas piston, which is a steel rod, or a trigger, which is a piece of plastic. Or, I mean, that's 6 there. I mean, a cocking piece. I mean, it's just a little thing, or a knop rod, a cocking piece, to make 7. I don't think it actually needs 7. I think it would probably need about 6, but let's just say 7. So, yeah, magazine, muzzle device, cocking piece, trigger, gas piston. Done. The CZ's thing about 922R is like, they're the only company that seems so overly concerned with that. So I don't know.
You think it might have to do with like submitting designs for approval for the import, even though they've already brought them in as pistols, like for the rifle version?
You know, but other people do, and they don't seem to. Because I mean, when you import a gun, it's a sporter gun. The ATF doesn't want to think about it being converted. In their minds, they're going to be sold in this configuration.
Gotcha.
So when you 922R gun, you're essentially remanufacturing it to make it magically American.
Yeah.
Magically delicious. So it almost seems like an excuse.
Yeah.
But what we know for sure is the handguard's going to be different. The receiver won't have as much machining done on it. My worry about the 2MS, one of the big detractions to the 2S is how much lighter it is than the original 805. I'm worried they're adding weight back on.
Yeah. Yeah, that is one of the key things for me, is how light the Bren 2S is. Not even just compared to the 805 Bren, but just compared to anything else on the market.
Oh yeah, no, it's just light.
They're very light, handy little rifles, pistols, whatever you want to call them, carbons.
Carbons.
And then as far as actually importing any more between now and then, I doubt it.
They're not going to do the 2S, which I think is a mistake. It was like we were saying in the car. If I were CZ, they already had approval for the 2S. They already had 300 in the country.
Yep.
Bring over another 1,000, whatever.
Yeah.
bring them in. Let collectors buy those. Let the tactical market see those and say, hey, CZ, we like the gun, but do this, this, and this. Take that feedback and then develop the 2MS. They're just pulling this 2MS kind of out of the sky, imagining what the consumer will want. And, you know how that goes. So I think they're kind of doing it in reverse.
Yeah.
We'll see, but...
Yeah. Matt, should the Army have accepted the M9A3 since logistically we have parts and magazine stockpiles and inventory, and it's a proven design? Also, what is your favorite band? Thanks for the great channel. Thanks, Matt.
Real quick on the Beretta, I don't know how many parts are actually interchangeable with the original. That's a pretty radical thing. Magazines, a lot of our mags were contracted out and actually wearing out. That was one of the big deals for getting a new gun anyways. The mags were wearing out. So I think either way, we still need new mags. So not really. And I think the idea was, well, if we're going to get something new, let's get something new. And I can't fault them for that.
No.
The M9A3 is fine, but it's just kind of, I mean, they already have the M9A1 that they purchased in small numbers, so.
Yeah. And the second part of that question was, what is your favorite band?
I'll let you go there.
So my favorite band right now, currently still active, is Queens of the Stone Age by a long shot. Like I listen to Queens of the Stone Age more than just about anybody else.
I always think of the movie Queen of the Damned when I think of that.
That's because they're similar titles, I guess.
No, they were on the soundtrack.
Okay. Are you serious?
Yep.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yep.
I'm not a very big Queens of the Stone Age fan, apparently.
Anyway, I guess for me, I'd have to say Smashing Pumpkins. I have a lot of history there. I've even got some rare albums and signed ones, but I think both of us, if you're talking historically, David Bowie.
Yeah,
who's not really a band, but more of an artist. But
right. Yeah, we're both big David Bowie fans. So, and there's a little bit of bleed over with for me with Queens of the Stone Age and David Bowie, because Josh Homme, who's the lead singer of Queens of the Stone Age, did a collaboration with Iggy Pop here a few years back on an album that I thought was really good. And then they had released a live album where they actually did a lot of the Bowie Iggy Pop collaborations.
So they were Eskimo Brothers.
All right. So the next question we have is from Dylan. Misha, tell us about some interesting ammunition facts about World War I and World War II rifles. Captured rifles that were converted in arsenal reworks. I find the Steyr straight pull rifles and Swiss rifles. What are some of the lesser known specimens? By the way, I love the channel. You guys are so awesome. I became a Patreon. Thanks, Dylan.
Yeah, thanks much. The second part I'll answer first because it's easy. Obviously, the Swiss had a wide range of straight pulls. You had the original Schmidt-Reuben. You had the refined versions, and then, of course, you had the K31. For Steyr, you had actually an early version which used a wedge as opposed to rotating lugs. That was the model 1888 and 1890. Then you had the version they made for Switzerland, the 1893, and then of course they had the 95. Those are the known ones. I would say the Canadian Ross. There was a Mark I, Mark II, Mark III, and then there were some sporting versions. And what's weird is, but you'd think Mark II, Mark III is just an upgrade. Totally different system. Like, totally different. So it's amazing how much they changed the design between marks. Another one that comes to mind that is a quasi-straight pull is the Winchester 1895, often called the Lee Navy, which was designed by James Paris Lee, the Enfield inventor. And actually talking about World War I anecdotes, that's one. The Lee Navy, it fired a 6mm cartridge, which was frankly super high velocity, super accurate, super awesome, except it burned out barrels of the day in a few thousand rounds. So it was way ahead of its time, but it was a 6mm round that we really wouldn't adopt anything smaller than until the AR-15, 5.56. It was way ahead of its time. World War I, hollow points were outlawed, so that actually caused the British to have to change. Spitzer bullets were coming very much into vogue, but you still had some round-nosed bullets being used in that conflict. And, there were actually still some black powder cartridges used in World War I. Wasn't all smokeless. And there was some that were semi-smokeless, which is kind of weird. And then, of course, by World War II, it was pretty all standardized. You know, it was mostly updated versions of existing rounds that were tweaked a little bit.
Yeah, one thing, I've gone to the World War I Museum in Kansas City a few times, and seeing the very disparate design philosophies between countries and their small arms is really interesting. Like, it's pretty cool to see how everybody's trying to figure out, you know, there's no real standardization yet. Everybody's got their own thing and their own design philosophy.
And it draws closer and closer. I would say World War II and right after is when they pretty much figured it out, and you get to 2 or 3 standards.
Right. All right. Gregory. Hey, Misha, have you had the chance to handle the MP5 clones from PTR? If so, how do they compare with the POF5 and the Zenith/MKE Z5, which you reviewed on the channel?
Unfortunately, I haven't, but we have had, you know, PTR other versions, and the quality seemed good. PTR got a lot of their prints and tooling from Portugal, who got a license from HK. So they're semi. They had some guidance. You know, they weren't just fly by night reverse engineering.
Yeah.
So I bet they're pretty good.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't mind getting my hands on a full size. I'm just totally blanking on the PTR. I wouldn't mind getting my hands on a full size PTR MP5 clone, because I think they look really good. And I don't have one. I've got an MP5K, which is the POF.
That's something we should probably look at later in the year, because they're out, but they haven't really been out. I mean, I don't know, there's everywhere.
As far as I know, PTR's had a good reputation.
Yeah, I mean, with anyone, there's always a few detractors, but we both own their 308s, and they're fine. They're really quite a good company, and they don't price their stuff insanely high.
Yeah. Brian says, hi guys, I recently was bit by the bullpup bug, sorry dude, and bought an X95 and 5.56. I like the rifle, but was thinking I'd like a little more range distance, so I started looking at the Desert Tech MDR. With all the early mixed reviews on the Gen 1/2, and now even questionable fixes, do you think a 1MOA 5.56 bullpup made in the US is possible? And would you buy a $2,600 MDR and hope they will fix them? Keep up the great videos. I look forward to every one.
That's more of a you question, so I'll let you take that.
Yep. So I had an M17S, a Can-Am M17S, or M17 5.56, is that what they call them? I believe was the model. Had a really good barrel in it, really, really good trigger. I don't remember, I never really shot match ammo out of it, but I do remember it was extremely accurate. But I ended up, I'm not a big bullpup fan personally. I have one, and it's the AUG, the Steyr AUG, and I have a couple barrels for it. So to me, like, that's, if I had another bullpup, or if I were going to buy another bullpup, the X95 would be it. So I probably wouldn't go for a bullpup for long range accuracy. Those things are really they're meant to be compact, which means that there's going to be an inherent, I think, amount of trade-off on the accuracy side of it. I'm not saying you can't get a short gun that's extremely accurate, but that's not really what the point of those are. It's more the compact form. So I would look around, maybe check in on the M17 and see what people are getting on those from an accuracy standpoint. But that's a pretty tough pill to swallow on a $2,700.
I don't. That's, you can get some nice stuff, and you can get a SCAR for that. But I think most of the benefits of a bullpup are kind of negated at that point.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. At some point there's not a one-size-fits-all gun, and I think the X95 is awesome at a compact, close-range CQB.
Yeah, and there are non-bullpup options, plenty of non-bullpup options for 1MOA. If someone has a 1MOA bullpup, it's not super expensive. Go ahead and post it in the comments with your recommendations, because I am not a big bullpup guy, like I said.
And I'm not a big MOA guy.
So, we typically stick with kind of military patterns for the most part. So,
And most militaries are happy as long as it's like sub 4 MOA.
right, yeah. So, I mean, the AUG with the what's the LMG barrel length on it?
24.
24 inches is pretty awesome. It's not a 1 MOA gun, but it's pretty cool. So definitely less than 2,700.
And the 20-inch AUG, I mean, really with 223, 18's about your max. Yeah, the 24 is for other purposes, so a 20 will do fine too.
Yeah. Daryl Jackson says, "Hey Misha, thank you for the Wasser and the spare Korean mag. Love it. Hey, the question is, on the VZ or CZ61 Scorpion seems to be dried up. Do you think they will import more? And at the same price? Can't find any of them anymore. Wish I would have grabbed one. If you find one, let me know." And then he specifies he's talking about the 9x18 Macaron version.
I really wish I'd known you were looking for one. I had them last week. I actually ordered a few because I was getting one for a buddy, and I figured, well, they do this thing where you buy 2 or more and you get free shipping, so I ordered a few. The thing is with those, they're here today, gone tomorrow. So, I mean, literally not even tomorrow, like sometimes an hour. They do import them, but it's small numbers.
Yeah.
Maybe a dozen at a time.
Yeah.
So they're still coming. Email me and we can talk. They'll be around. Yeah.
Yeah, they see this Checkpoint. Is that Checkpoint? Right?
Checkpoint
Yeah, Checkpoint.
USA in Knoxville, Tennessee.
When I was wanting one of the new VZ58s, one of the black polymer furniture ones, I actually set them as a homepage. I set their website as a homepage on my phone, so every time I opened up my internet on my phone, I would automatically see if they had come back in stock or not. And literally, it was, I opened it, it wasn't, I opened it, and they were then, and I called Misha, and we ended up like going in on an order for some. So that's just literally how fast they come in.
They're just they're not playing games. They just don't get many because Czech Small Arms over in Jablanka, Czech Republic, is a small factory, and they're also serving Europe and Canada. So,
all right. So another question from Guy. I got another one. I know I'm asking a question that will cause much consternation on the forums, but when some people describe foreign steel AK magazines, they like to use the term quote-unquote war mags. This term is generally used in conjunction with derogatory opinions about polymer magazines like PMags. I may be wrong, but I thought that I've read that a good many militaries that have or are starting to use AK polymer magazines as their main issued equipment. Thanks, boys.
Poppycock. I bet these are the same guys that think the M14 is the best thing ever. It's that traditional wood and steel. Yeah, steel mags are fine, but yeah, most modern militaries use polymer. For one thing, yes, it's cheaper and easier to produce with modern technology. For another, it doesn't rust or corrode.
Right.
It doesn't dent or ding up. If a polymer mag's broken, you know it. It's just broken. They're lighter weight, which soldiers really appreciate. They don't put as much wear and tear on guns, because of being polymer. They go in and out a little easier. They're easier to fit to guns too. You can just kind of take a little off. There's a lot of advantages to polymer. That's why most AKs that are still issued today have them. For example, Bulgaria has the waffle mags. Finland, with their Valmets, went to those black waffle mags, which is actually kind of where Bulgaria got the idea. Poland uses polymer mags. They actually started using kind of black polymer. These here, and their AKMs in the 90s, and now today they use green polymer 5.56 mags in their Beryls. Russia uses polymer mags. In fact, Russia hasn't really used metal mags since the late 60s. First they used the so-called Bakelite, then they went to polymer. But yeah, and China used steel for a while, but even they might be kind of going over, I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, my range bag has I usually keep a steel one in there as a sort of a baseline.
Sure.
But otherwise, I mostly keep polymer mags in my range bag for the weather resistance, to be honest.
Yeah, I really don't see. I mean, steel feels good. It feels like it should be more durable, but it's really not.
All All right. Joe says, hello. I feel that
Hello, Joe.
Hello.
Yo, Joe.
I feel that I stay pretty informed with firearm news and what is generally coming into the country, so I was shocked when JDI imported a small batch of the SIG 550s. Had never heard of them. Do you know if they or anyone else will be attempting to import some in the future, and if so, what would be the best way to reserve / order one? Finally, are you aware of any new cool firearms that might be imported into the foreseeable future? As always, thank you for the quality content, information, and entertainment.
Well, if I know that, I want to put this down. Yeah, here's one from JDI. This is the 553R, which we have a recent video on. Dave is a relatively young company. He started importing in 2015, but he has the exclusive with Swiss Arms Neuhausen, SAN, so you're going to see their guns coming through him. And yeah, he's going to keep on going. It's his business. In fact, he's going to be over in Switzerland any day now to get new stuff rolling. You know, it's just kind of whatever they can produce, whatever. He imports in smallish numbers, 10 to 50 pieces at a time. Part of it is SAN has a relatively small production facility and they have ongoing police and military contracts, so they can only spare so many man hours on the lines. Another part is just the cost of these guns. When you're an importer, you pay for stuff up front, and as you might imagine, say 50 Swiss guns cost a lot to reserve and get into production. So yeah, he's still going. And yeah, I didn't really hear, I heard about him before he actually brought over the 551 SBs a couple of years ago, but I heard of it just kind of through the grapevine, word of mouth, and I wasn't sure either. Before him, we had M+M brought over some, and then Sig Sauer brought over some, but they never really ran with it like JDI, who is actually now called SAN Imports, which is good. I mean, he's still JDI, but he changed his import company name to SAN Imports for a few reasons. So yeah, as far as reserving one, you can shoot me an email or just shoot Dave an email, and you can find his info. He's pretty active on Facebook.
All right, Blake. Hey, Misha. Any reason to buy a newly imported PSL over earlier Century imports? I really want the new one with the Romy scope, but not at the classic quote-unquote sale price. The classic quote-unquote sale price of $2,800. I figure I could get an older one Figured I could get an older one for much with tritium scope, much cheaper, but wanted to make sure the function and fit/finish aren't vastly superior on the new imports. Thanks, Blake.
I can't think of any reason. Can you? I mean, we both have had the older ones. They're fine. The newer ones are just new production. They might have a little bit better finish, but
yeah, if you can find an older one for an obtainable price, I would just get an older one.
I would check it out and make sure corrosive hadn't been fired through it. If it had been, it was cleaned properly. But assuming it was taken care of, and 2,800 is absurd. I mean, when they came out and they were talking $2,000, that was crazy. But 2,800 is, I'm sorry. I can say, okay, $2,000. If you really want one, fine, your money. Nearly $3,000 after shipping is, guys, it's not that valuable. Don't do that. You'll regret it.
Andrew, this is the final question here. Misha, maybe a bit less in demand, but I'd love a video about the AK-104/105. Particularly their roles in Russia, and a comparison to the SLR-107CR. Call it completing the AK history line. Thanks for everything you do for the community.
I assume you mean the AK-104, AK-105, the quote-unquote carbine versions that had 12.5-inch barrels. The 104 would have been 7.6239, and the 105 was a 5.45. But he could mean the Arsenal SLR-104 and Arsenal SLR-105, but I don't think so. Sure, we can do that. I do have a 106 CR, and there's a couple of 107 CRs in the store, so those aren't exact clone copies. In fact, I put up a recent video on the AK-74 versus the AK-74M that kind of points out a lot of the differences, and much of what's in that video carries over to the 104, 105. Unfortunately, they really never got around to doing a Sega, an SGL 21 or 31 that was set up like a 104 or 105, so we don't have really true imports. Now there are some custom-made
Yeah.
guns, but sure, yeah, I don't see why not. We can do something for sure.
Yeah. So that was the last of the Patreon questions.
Well, I'm a little disappointed. I was hoping for more zany questions because we said to ask us anything. I mean, you saved us a lot of embarrassment, but no, sorry, offer's gone. Never to appear again.
Yeah, the next one, the Patreon questions will have to be very, very straightforward.
Yeah, very, very serious, very straightforward.
Very technical. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks guys for posting those questions and for all
Indeedy.
the comments there. We love doing these Q&As. It's a lot of fun for us, and hopefully that will help give back a little bit for those who have been generous enough to contribute to the Patreon. So we appreciate that a whole lot.
And yeah, and if you can't support us on Patreon, we understand. I mean,
Yep.
dollars add up, and we do our best to answer questions in the video comments. We're sorry we really can't do live streams at the moment. Jan and I live on the opposite ends of town, and I can't do it because of obvious reasons. It just it wouldn't work. So it's just technically and physically not possible. So.
Yeah, and I've not heard great things about some of the YouTube live streaming and stuff. I know Robski's had some issues with it before, and so maybe at some point there'll be some type of application or something that we can use to make that a little bit easier. But yeah, probably not right now.
No, I might appear on other people's live streams. I've already been on one over at Zeke Shoots, where it was him, myself, and Glock Shooter 1979. So you can check that out. It was archived and it is up. We recorded that a week ago when we're doing this here. So I might appear on other people's, but as far as us doing one, it's probably not going to happen, guys.
Yep.
But, you know, hope you understand.
Yep.
But we'll be here and we'll keep putting out videos. We've actually upped our outage quite a bit this year, and about time to take a break, but we'll keep putting out a little bit longer. Most everything on the table is stuff that was either in a recent video or will be in an upcoming video, just kind of what was around.
Yep.
But we really do appreciate it, guys. And we really do welcome the questions, and we don't mind at all if you've got 6, 7, or 8.
Yeah.
But 9, that's the breaking point. Don't do 9. No, really, we appreciate it.
Yeah. Yep. So if you'd like to see more of this type of stuff, please go check out our backlog on our channel. Make sure you subscribe so you get notified whenever we post new content. We post multiple videos a week. And then, as we mentioned, if you're interested in contributing to the Patreon, check out the link below.
Yep. Well, if you could like, share, subscribe. This is Misha.
And this is Jay.
And we will catch you very soon next time.
See ya. And now I'm going to run across the kitchen and turn the camera on.
Run, Forrest, run.